So when we started the journey around about 3.5 years ago, we formed client services for the first time, and we started thinking about what our PMO was going to look like. And these are some of the things we observed. Put your hands up if any of these kind of resonate across your organization. A few of you, yeah. Because what we did when we formed client services is we brought it together from different parts of BT and different businesses. People had maybe worked in BT some time, we'd acquired some businesses, so they'd come from outside, and we were working in very different ways. So we had project managers using a different set of methodologies and a different set of standards. And while they were hugely successful in what they were doing, it meant that we had no common language that we used in our portfolio. So one person's mobilization was another person's initiation. One person's business case was completely different to the next one we were looking at. And it also gave us some challenges as we tried to move project managers around, because every time you moved a project manager onto a new customer or a new assignment, you were effectively asking them to learn from scratch. We had some very early tool adoption. So we had a timesheeting solution, but everything else was done on SharePoint sites and spreadsheets. So we didn't have any kind of enterprise PPM tool. And as a result of that, what that meant is we had PMs doing multiple status updates, which I'm sure you see in organizations all over the place. So we might have a PM doing an update for a customer, for the PMO, their program manager, maybe a salesperson. A real strange dynamic going on of PMs producing different PowerPoint decks, different presentations, all sorts of bits and pieces. Now, as you can imagine, with 850 people that we supported, we also had our resource management challenges. You know, we have a big challenge around demand coming in and who have we got to fill that demand. So there was a whole dynamic going on there. And the big one for me was the different expectations around what a PMO can do. Again, I'll have a show of hands in a minute, but quite often you would talk to project managers. They would like support with filling in risks and issues or doing their weekly status update or facilitating a meeting. Meanwhile, you've got directors and board members looking for more portfolio management approach. So we had a whole set of demands coming into the PMO. I'd love a show of hands if you have that going on in your environment. About 50% or something. So these were the challenges that we faced at the beginning of our journey. And they're not uncommon, right, across PMOs that I've seen over my career. Let's think about then where we went from there. And the small group of us that set up the Client Services PMO stepped back and thought about how do we want this PMO to feel? What do we want this PMO to be? And how do we think we can add value to the business? And the first thing that we all agreed on is we wanted to change everybody's perception of the PMO. So we didn't want people thinking this is a big bureaucratic engine, I can't get what I want done. So we want to change everybody's perception. And we had in our mind that there's kind of two types of PMO. There's a scale in between, but we kind of had two extremes, right? There's a PMO that receives a request from maybe an exec to get some information together, kind of spins up a spreadsheet, spins up a little process, sends it out to 850 people, fill it in by Friday and send it back, okay? A kind of admin-focused PMO. And at the other end of the spectrum, you know, you have a PMO that's really adding value to the organization. Some of the things we were just talking about in the session before this, around alignment to strategy, understanding the business goals, supporting the business to be successful. And we clearly wanted to be more towards the adding value than we did towards the administration end. And so we came up with these statements, which Chris talked about a minute ago. So we're on a mission to change everybody's perception of the PMO. We're not the spreadsheet curators, the random data requesters, the administrators, or the get-in-the-wayers. So that was our start point as to where we started from. And we said we want to be the organizers, the collaborators, the relentless fixers, and the ones with the insights. And that's where we started. A real set of simple statements that kind of set us off on a course for the next 2.5 to 3 years as we went through our transformation journey.